Hey everyone, welcome to the Dad Podcast, episode 79. This week we'll be catching up on everything we've been doing for the last couple weeks and what we've been watching, what we've been playing, things that are going on in our lives, and we'll go from there. But Dad, so of course
No peace signs, no gang signs, no gang signs. Sorry.
no gang signs.
No,
Yeah,
that would be this or something like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
315. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I went to Best Buy and found Casey Jones, of course.
Show him again.
The NECA. Well, he said he's gonna be blurred out. I'll just put a picture of him up here somewhere.
Oh yeah, cool.
But I noticed that the movie section was like 4 shelves long and front and back. That was it.
Yeah, they don't sell
They don't have movies
DVDs and
anymore.
movie stuff at Best Buy. It's all truly electronics and collector
So
stuff.
your best bet is to go to Amazon or Target or Walmart, because even Walmart has a bigger section of movies than Best
Right.
Buy.
Dude,
At least the Best Buy I went to.
honestly, if I'm not buying my movies from online, it really is Walmart. Like, we'll go by there at least once a week, and I'll walk by, and sitting right out the front is all the stuff that just came out for
Came
that
out.
week. And take a look and be like, if something stands out, like I picked up Justice League War World this past week. I haven't gotten.
It's out already, the first one.
Yep. So I haven't had the
Good.
chance to sit down and watch it yet, but I mean, it was right there, and I'll wander up and down the aisle because every once in a while, they'll have just stuff filter in. I'm like, oh, hey, that looks pretty good, or I don't have that yet. They have a lot of complete TV collections and all the rest of that, so it's actually not a bad spread, to be honest.
Target's got everything. It seems like Target's trying to clear out. I guess they're getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah.
But man, they're clearancing a lot of movies, and then a lot of their toys. Hasbro,
Yeah.
Star Wars. And you're not going to find them online. It's because it's store specific. So
Right.
it's kind of like going back to doing the shopping again.
Yeah.
Literally.
I didn't hear you.
Dollar
I'm
store.
Yeah, like it
Dollar
like
General.
Dollar General, yeah,
Dollar General has Halloween up already.
already. Yeah,
wow.
it was like when Edward was here. He goes, "Can we go for 5 for less?" I
yeah.
found so much stuff there
5
last
and below.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 and below, and I was like, "Man, yeah, you found so much stuff. My pocket, but lost stuff."
Well, so this brings me back to the other thing I was talking about is that I know I have been reading that there's been articles about stores having less and less of physical media for video games. And when I went in over there to look for games and toys, they had like no games on anywhere in that area. It's all now behind the customer service area. But toys have been starting to take up the gaming area. So I don't know if this is like kind of we're going back before video games or we're I know we're going completely digital, but still.
I mean,
Yeah,
toys are becoming the hot
Mhm.
commodity again. Everybody's trying to be Toys R Us all of a sudden.
Well, you got to fill.
Well,
the
and it's
void that's
because
been gone
it's the collectors. I've been watching this guy. He's really broken it down pretty good. Where it basically he outlines why toy collecting and toys are not designed for parents and I mean for kids anymore. They're for the collector, and then they're for that parent who has the pocketbook to go buy their kid a $200 toy. Knowing well it'll get broke and it doesn't phase them. I don't know many people that I associate with that can afford that.
Look, when $20 could buy you 4 figures or more, and then now it's like $200 can buy you one. It's crazy. On top of that, I don't know because so Hasbro released a bunch of the new Transformers that are going to be coming out. At least you can pre-order it, and they had the collector's box set for Minosaur. I'd love to get that for Edward, but it's $200,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, he could just have mine when I die because I mean,
That's how I feel.
it's
I'm
not,
just gonna quit buying presents and Christmas and say y'all can pick your. It'll be like a pick your part when I'm gone. Just pick your thing through it. I'll leave one knife so that everybody can fight their way for whatever they consider the prize. There can be only one.
yeah. Then you come out glowing and everything with everything attached to your body, like a giant mecha. But anyway, What have you guys been
I got
watching?
a picture I'm going to send you. It was a picture that somebody had built a custom combiner, and it was the body of Optimus Prime. The leg was the DeLorean. One of the arms they were all different cars from television and cartoons. I was
From
like,
the 80s,
that's
yeah.
I love that. That would be fantastic. So
Do we want to talk about the stretch goal GI Joes that came out since we last gathered?
Oh yeah. Well,
well,
I mean,
yeah.
we did do so the
Because we
Dragonfly
talked
did
about the
come.
first goal, but we didn't talk about the subsequent goals.
Oh, where they had Glinda and
Right.
Yeah, Glinda the Good Fairy,
Crazy Legs for the
Crazy Legs.
Hmm.
yeah.
All of them sound like Wizard of Oz characters.
Yeah. But there were, because there were 4 goals total, right? And we talked
And
about the first one.
Well, the first
there
one was
was 3.
Ripcord.
Right. The
First
first
one
one
was
was
Ripcord.
Ripcord, and that was where we left off, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there were the 3
Yeah.
subsequent ones, which was
I think there was only
There's only 2.
three
was it
stretch,
3 or was it
and
There's only
and
3
you
this
got
time.
Wild Bill
Okay.
with the
Yes.
actual.
Okay,
vehicle.
yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking.
So Glinda was a weird choice for them to do because it is on a very obscure character.
Yeah, and that was
She's
one
just
none of us
basically
saw.
just a blonde version of Scarlet. And then you got Crazy Legs, which was great because you have another paratrooper. But that Glinda could have been a different character. Could have been Doc. You could have had a medic with the helicopter. So you could have gave Doc, or you could have gave Lifeline.
I would have wanted to see Doc because he was the obvious choice to be with a helicopter.
Yeah,
Um,
because he was associated with the last round.
And the funny thing
original.
is that and I know I talked to Rob about it, is how it just died after Glinda came out, and it wasn't until like the last 72 to 48 hours that everybody started really kind of going in to get it when they announced Crazy Legs. And
Well, because you get that bump right there at the end, and then they stretch that bump out by going, "Oh, we had a computer glitch."
Yeah, they did. They stretched it out another day, so they had 20
just to make that a little bit more money.
No, they had 24,000 units backed. It's crazy. And if you do the math on that, that's like over 6 figures, as far as
Yeah, they made their numbers.
Yeah.
Once they announced,
they made plenty of money.
But the worst thing is right after that one, literally the day after that went up, they did the HasLab for Star Wars, the Ghost. I mean,
the Ghost.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
man.
Yeah, if I was still collecting vintage, I would love to have that. It's just that one and the very last Millennium Falcon ever produced, right after Disney took over Star Wars, which had just full electronics, everything worked on the inside. It was just beautiful done, and that's what the Ghost reminds me of. It's very much in that same vein.
Well, what's cool is that every stretch goal for it is the rest of the cast for Rebels.
Yeah, and it comes with Syndulla.
Yeah, you get Hera and
Syndulla.
I think you get Hera and then Chopper. I think.
Yeah, I think Chopper. Yeah. Get to the chopper.
And it's got the one I can't remember what the little ship is. The one they use.
The little shuttle that they used when they had to separate.
Yeah. So
what was funny was what was announced after that. I mean, a lot of people aren't talking about it, but when they were on stage and they were talking about things, they made some real important announcements. They said that there are certain vehicles that people have been wanting and expecting that were just too large and too cost prohibitive. So we will never see a flag. We will never see a Defiant. They said that flying vehicles are easier to produce, and I don't know how this is possible, than land vehicles. So the next HasLab will probably be another aircraft, and they're going to use the vehicles and put them in the what do they call them? They're deluxe, where you get a figure in a vehicle.
Yeah.
So
the problem is a whale's gonna a whale for the HasLab would be have to be it would have to be a HasLab. It couldn't be a standard release.
Yeah.
which means we're not going to get a whale anytime soon.
Yeah.
We'll get some of the more smaller vehicle boats, just like they announced the Dreadnought vehicle with the guy who drove it.
Yeah,
And I can
Thunder
never
Machine.
remember his name. Yeah, the
Thrasher.
Thunder Machine.
Well, I know Rob
Um,
said that he thinks that the next one for Joe may end up actually being the shark.
Huh.
Oh yeah, I
Like
could
his
see the
Sabi.
shark being. We talked about that when we were online when we were talking. You know, the next one, why not do a shark and do a what's his
Deep
name?
Six, yeah.
Deep
Mhm.
Six.
Yeah. We still have more. I mean, we got Star Wars now. Probably right after this, we'll have another Transformers because this is going to put us right into September. I think
Yeah.
this one ends. So, I have no clue what that's going to be. Unless they do like Autobot City, as a playset thing. But that'd be huge too. I don't know.
I mean, Metroplex didn't fit with any of and it was supposed to be a city. You know, yeah, if they'd have made some more micro Transformers to go with it, might have been able to sell it.
Mhm.
But as it was just a collector's item. One more thing to set on a shelf.
All right. Question: Is Hasbro also the current owners of the Micronauts?
Yes, I believe so.
Since they're all supposed to be part of that giant universe they were talking about building.
Yes, if they've got Transformers, so yeah, it is part of that mixed universe that they have.
I would like to see them completely do
Oh yeah, but
a
you know
nice
what I
left
want to see?
angle, boom, do some Micronaut stuff.
I want to see them take the design for the ship that was used in the old Marvel comics. I
Right.
love that ship.
Yes.
Like they're probably, if they do it, they won't have the property for that because they don't have Marvel. So they
Well,
will
I
use
thought
one of the
Marvel-
ones from the original
Marvel gave it up, and
designs.
I thought Marvel gave it up. I thought it was just
No, that's why any other comic book that came out afterwards only could use the toy versions of the characters. It could have a Croyer, it could have who was the insect? I can't remember what his name was.
Oh.
They could have those, but they couldn't use the likeness of the ones from the Marvel comics.
Okay, so they had to go back to the toy versions,
Yeah.
which was fine with me because the toy versions were fantastic. You had the one guy who had the blue body, the red body, and the green body, I think it was. He had the silver head and the plate.
Yeah. He was the main character was one of them, but I can't remember what their names were. They had the princess, gosh man, it's been a long time since I've read that book and even seen the toys. I can't remember what the big one was with the red chest and the big head, and he turned into a vehicle. I can't remember what I've seen him. But another thing was like Rom's making a big resurgence, and that was tied up legally with Marvel for a long time.
And now it's back in Marvel.
It's back in, yeah.
Because
they can't become. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. James Gunn talked about the possibility of adding Rom, but it was tied up in legal stuff, so he couldn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I read that, I'm like, oh, that would have been fantastic. So now Rom's in legal limbo, which makes me think he's more going toward the Hasbro stuff. If I remember, that was part of the.
I believe that's what they wanted to, because if you go back to when they first announced their shared universe, they came out with the con exclusive pack, which had a version of Rom. It had a bunch of different characters in it, including the Micronauts.
Yes.
Which I never got. I really truly wanted that, and I couldn't find it. And by the time it got to where I could find it, it was cost prohibitive. There's no way. And what some people did was they gutted it, opened it, and sold the character figures individually.
Yeah.
For as much as what the original box came out for.
Which is part of the market, but unfortunately, it's a crappy move. But
well, you're seeing them do it right now with the deluxe monsters, the Universal monsters.
Okay, yeah.
They've got the extra hands being sold for $45. You got a head being sold for almost 100, and I'm like, wow, don't buy that. Just keep searching. You'll find it in a store somewhere.
So Vinny, you went on a road trip to Rob's shop.
Yeah, I went to Rob's shop, went to Dad's.
How was that?
It was good, other than the fact I had car issues. So I'm gonna have to take care of. Basically, I need to replace the two front struts and
Get a front end alignment.
yeah, front end alignment, and there's probably something else with my transmission they need to take a look at.
Yeah, you need to take that to somebody who can put it on a machine, and they're going to have to check the fluid. You can't do anything till you make sure that it's the transmission's not ripped up.
That's what Bear was saying. That he said that I need to get that done before I get the struts done. So I already talked to my buddy Matt, and he's going to come look at it and stuff, and he's going to give me an estimate as far as what he can do. He can't do the alignment part, but he should be able to do everything else.
No, but that drives me crazy because I was looking at the video trying to help him figure out what to do. You have to take off the wheel. You have to take off the wheel thing on the behind it, all of that, unbolt it, shift it over to the side, and all the way in, you got to have a special tool because it's at an angle. So you have to use this tool to take off this little bitty bolt on the bottom of the transmission pan, which has a built-in dipstick.
Yep.
And then you can check it. And then I'm like, good God, that's progress. We went from I can check it from the top of the car, from the engine with a large dipstick, to now I got to rip the car apart.
Yeah.
To figure out something. So tell me this wasn't designed to help people make money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is definitely Ford going, well, you can only take this to a Ford dealership for us to look at it,
David, got any good news for us?
Yeah, please tell me.
And Fromber just threw another hitter. Sorry. I was mildly distracted. Astros were playing, and they just threw a no hitter. So sorry.
So they didn't play. They didn't play. They just
threw a no hitter.
Threw a no hitter.
No, they played because they scored 2 runs. The other team was the one that didn't play.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it.
Hey man, let's go Stros.
In this day of alternative facts, if I was the other team, I'd go, that's not what happened. We won. We technically won.
Fake news.
All right. No, but the trip was good. The trip was good. Rob's doing good. He's got he's a little understaffed right now. He's doing what he can. I helped out. Me and Anna helped out, helping him run the shop, cleaning up, rearranging things. Anna was up front coloring and everything. So anytime anybody would come over, she would, welcome into the shop and answer questions and check them out.
Get your shit and get out.
Yeah. So I can go back to coloring. No, it was fun. I mean, we had a good time. I was just worried about the car, worried that we could make it home.
Right.
I ended up working last Thursday and Friday, remotes, which was good. I didn't have to worry about, being in the office, having to drive back home right away. But it was good getting to see my dad. And of course, I had my master ability of Tetrising everything I picked up in my car in a way that we could literally sit in it.
Well, they did hit a bump.
About avalanches.
They did hit a bump. I'm watching them drive, and Edwards in the back seat. Ow! Ooh. I'm just gonna string a cat. Edwards like sitting there and they hit a bump, right? And all of a sudden it was like in a movie where the this has nothing to do with the submarine, but instead of imploding, it exploded outward. And he just goes, and he's like, ah, and it's just all raining down on him. And he's like hollering, and both his mom and dad are like, what? Neither one of them would turn around and look at him. And he's just like being inundated by all this stuff falling here. And it gave up after a while and just was playing on his game thing while the stuff was hitting him in the head. And I was like, I wanted him to just start singing in the rain, just something,
Well, and the funny thing was, so what it was is that Anna had a tote of like these like Disney and different
Oh, blaming
toys.
on the wife. Okay.
No, we had put it in
Yeah,
there.
when she's
Well,
not here to defend herself.
Edward, no, because this is a trifecta of things. Edward decided that he was wanting the blanket because he was cold, so he unstabilized the that bucket. So as he hit the bump, as we hit the bumps, it was like hitting him on the head, and then there was Funko Pops that were coming because that unstabilized other things. No,
Likely
it has
For all
nothing to do with
intents
my
and
adult
purposes, it was
habits.
that closet where everything gets shoved in it. That the
Yeah.
parents go, "Don't open it, don't open it," and then the poor schmuck who comes in and goes, "Can I? I'll just hang my coat up," and then they're like, "That's what it looked like." I was like, "Hey, man, that people pay $1,000 to have a setup like that in a movie."
Too
I'd
bad
like
I
to
don't have
add
footage
that-
of it, so I could put it in the
Cool.
episode here.
I'd like to add on the 25th, my grandson hit his first birthday.
Yep.
Nice.
I saw that.
And he's from being an absolute preemie a month early. He is 20 pounds and he is just full of life and joy.
And God, he has a great smile. Man, he has a great smile.
He is an absolute joy to be around. We went to
Good.
both his birthday parties because we did a public one and a private family one. And
Yep.
he is
Just wait till he gets a little bit older and can run around and grab all your shit.
He started trying to take his first steps while we were there for his party.
Oh wow.
He's gearing up. He is absolutely trying because we had a tent up and he was holding on to the poles, and I was a couple feet away from him, and he's a problem solver. He knows how to get to from point A to point B and what he needs to do, and I guarantee you within the next month he will be running.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the kid to death, and I'm just so happy.
Yeah.
He is.
I'll be back. Y'all talk.
So
I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go strangle the cat. I'm gonna go feed her.
Sure.
He's gonna feed
Sure.
her.
He's gonna feed her a knuckle sandwich, is what he's gonna do.
Oh, come on, so you leave me
But
alone.
no, I'm over the moon about that kid. He is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. My wife's goddaughter is going to be having her baby here anytime soon, so
Nice.
it's going to be really good. What else? Yeah, no, it's been I kind of like I took that time off, one to help dad out, but two to go help Rob out, and three, I needed just a mental break from everything. It's kind of why we hadn't had a podcast in a while, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Hey, but you know what? We needed a little reset time. Unfortunately, for me, here, no. There was
No.
it kicked into high gear. I ended up having to rebuild the studio computer because it just decided to blue screen of death on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to completely rebuild it to start over, which put me back 3 weeks on the recording.
Ugh.
Oh, nightmare. Night. But hey, there it is.
Yeah.
But
But
at
in the
least-
meantime, we've been watching a bunch of stuff, so we want to get around to that. I guess once Dad gets on here, we can talk about
What?
Transformers.
She's back.
You guys,
She's back. I just fed her. Why are you back in here?
because you're talking to people.
You haven't done this in a while. She's freaked out. She doesn't know what you're doing.
Yeah, she's all like, "What is this?"
It's like your attention is not on me.
Yeah. So yeah, start
like
off
she's so smart, man. Like I'll go to feed her, and I have a cup, so I measure her food out right. And when I'm pouring it, if it ain't coming down fast enough, she'll reach up and swat it in my hand, trying to knock the cup out of my hand.
Hey, faster.
Yeah.
Get
Now.
faster.
So
But
start with Transformers. I haven't seen it, so I'm curious to hear what's up with it.
yeah, so Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Dad.
I loved it. I had a few things, that I thought were wrong. Don't take one character's name and stick it on another character's because you think that the name is cool and it should be on this. And don't create a character out of just that has never existed before and try to place it over some character that has a long, strong legacy within the franchise. You know, if you wanted to make Wheeljack, make Wheeljack. If you wanted to make a VW Bug, you could have made it a hippie, a transformer, and then we all know that there were some smart hippies out there. So, but no, they're going to make him Wheeljack, the engineer, the guy who
creator of
created
the Dinobots.
the Bots, their weapons and everything else, and give it to a VW Bug that spends most of its time hiding behind RC. I was like,
Wow.
Well, considering
loved
the fact
RC. I thought she was perfect. I
considering the
loved
fact that
all.
Mirage is the pacifist of the team, you had Mirage. I mean, you had Wheeljack in the movie being the pacifist.
Yes, and then
Because
the
Wheeljack was
Maximals
supposed to
were
be somebody-
perfect.
Yeah, Maximals were great. Every moment of them.
But none of the creatures, the what do they call them?
Terracon.
That line, the Terracons looked like any of the Terracons. They were all generic. They made, Scorponok's like 50 billion of them in there, and they were the fodder, cannon fodder. They had something that could have been considered the Insecticons, but they were never even called the
Oh, the
Insecticons.
Insecticons, yes. They should have been the Insecticons. I mean, great.
And then, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to ruin it. Just they take one character that's important out of the movie because they want to give focus more to Mirage. When if they had used Hotshot, they could have created a Mirage-like character, that character they were trying to make, and replaced them and focused on one instead of trying to divide it between two characters.
Well, technically, if we're going to do G1 stuff, Mirage, Pete Davidson's character, should have been Trax. Because Trax was like,
yeah. Or he could have been, the way he acted, he could have been Jazz.
Right. He could have been.
He could have just as easily been Jazz. But they killed Jazz off and they used him so they don't want to duplicate any characters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it in continuity with the older stuff?
No, it is only continuity with Bumblebee, the movie.
Bumblebee. This is that when Bumblebee came out, it was a soft reboot, and that is the starting point.
So then the problem with that is we established what Wheeljack looked like in the Bumblebee movie. And then when he comes to Earth, he looks nothing like what he did on Cybertron. And not even talking about the vehicle mode. I'm talking about the robot mode. And so you think about that. Prime looks exactly like he did when he was on Cybertron in the Bumblebee movie.
Mm-hmm.
RC looks exactly like she did when she was on the planet Cybertron. So you had creative freedom with those other people and these other Autobots in the movie. And then on top of whatever you did with the Terracons, which is just dumb. Anyway, but the movie was good. I mean, it had really good characters. Besides the decisions of what they decided to do, the execution, as far as character development and all that stuff was pretty good. I really liked the main character, the main two human characters.
Yes.
They really it was more of like, this is a robot movie with human side characters, not like Michael Bay movies where it's like humans with human problems with robots as eye candy. The robots.
The eye candy of those Transformers movies was not the robots.
No, it wasn't. No, and that was some pretty good eye candy.
Not.
I just got to admit, man, I wish I had a mechanic that looked like that.
Have you seen her lately?
Let's not try to obscure facts here. Come on now.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
Look, we know that Megan Fox was put in that movie just for the older men that had to take their kids to that movie.
Yeah, for the thirsty.
Just like in the friggin' Power Rangers movie, which I had to take my daughter to because she was into Power Rangers. they had that woman on a planet who was going to be their Yoda, and she was wearing a skimpy loincloth and brassiere. And I went from, I could watch this on oh, hey, okay. And then when
This
she
movie is
disappeared from the
boring
show, I
as-
was like, please hurry up and end.
Trust me with your eyes, you will.
But no, I mean this was very well directed. There was a really good you know,
They're
a
blurry.
really good decision. I can't help that.
I
Some
can't
really-
say there was anything wrong with the story and script. It was some
No.
of the accoutrements, I guess
Yeah.
you could say.
I mean,
And then, okay,
Unicron looked great.
yeah, Unicron looked great. There were some problems with it. I would love to have seen regular characters, Unicron show up, change them. This would have been a great place to introduce Galvatron. This would the actual Scourge in the sweeps. This would have been perfect. No, Terracon should not have been in this. But I'm sorry, Orson Welles' voice is
Unicron.
Unicron.
Unicron, yeah.
And
Oh,
to have
you're
some
kidding.
guy who is nasally and just kind of, could be an attorney, could be an accountant doing the voice of Unicron, I was like, what the? You needed somebody with a booming voice, man. Somebody at least the
Okay.
equivalent of who does Optimus Prime.
I mean, come on, if you're gonna do it,
Come on, Morgan Freeman would have been a good choice.
you could have got
I would
Morgan
have loved
Freeman.
that. Yeah.
You could have got
Um,
Vin Diesel because we know that he can do robotic voices that are
Oh,
very menacing. You know, you think of Iron Giant, you think of even just
and
Groot.
get Hugo Weaving, man.
Yeah.
You know, I love him.
Oh,
He was great.
Come on. The guy who did Lex Luthor and Superman.
Oh, you're talking
The TV series, the new one.
Yes.
Oh,
The
you're
guy.
talking about the
no, he's talking about the Kurgan.
No. It's Superman the animated series.
yeah.
That was him. That was Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Thank you. Yes.
Clancy
Yeah,
Brown would
he
have been
could
fantastic.
actually be fantastic. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, there's so many even modern actors that you could get. And you know what? If you really wanted to drive people into the audience, man, get James Earl Jones come back to do Unicron.
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still around. He retired after he let them
do
make
Star Wars stuff.
digital copies of his voice. He's like, he's retired.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones would have been a good choice too, but
You know what?
James Earl a lot of people who use AI for it, so you could go to UberDuck and do his dialogue.
Could have
Gary
been Arnold
Oldman.
Schwarzenegger. I'm here. I want you to go find me the Autobots and bring me the key. Anything other than
Gary Oldman would
it
have
was
been
like
good.
Gilbert Godfrey, man. That was the equivalent of having Gilbert Godfrey play. What? Am I eating your planet? Who's the other one? Woody Allen. That was how I felt. This was the equivalent of just what the hell. That was my what the hell moment in the movie.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to intrude there, but I gotta eat your planet now.
Just,
Take your ball sack.
I was like, come on. How hard
Get
was
Johnny
it
Brennan
to,
from
to
the
get
Jerky
the
Boys.
voice?
So this does set up the world
Yes.
building of
The
the
world building.
G.I. Joe they want to do, where they do the crossover, because that's
There is
projected-
no way in hell that was Hawk. I'm sorry.
no.
I know a
don't
lot of
think that was
people are
Hawk.
going, that was Hawk. I was like, no, that was not Hawk.
No.
No.
Um.
I like
not-
the actor,
Yes.
but no.
But what was great was they're at the pit, the original G.I. Joe pit, not the
Yeah.
headquarters, not the later on bases, but the pit from the comic, which was a warehouse in the middle of nowhere that went.
Yeah, they were away from the desert because the original pit was in the desert, but
yes,
having it in an abandoned industrialized district that nobody's going to pay attention to is perfect.
Yes.
Nobody would go there.
Good boy.
Which is the second time we've actually had them do that with the G.I. Joe movie, because the first G.I. Joe movie was in the pit.
Yeah.
And they had that mobile command center later in the I think in the second movie.
You know,
But
seen either one of those.
They're okay. They're not bad. Both of them kind of play up on the whole thing of the first one is more cartoon aspect, you know, it over the top.
I could have lived without the what was it? The Ultimates G.I. Joe. What was that other
G.I. Joe
cartoon that
Extreme?
came out? No, it
Sigma
was one that
6.
came out right after the second version of G.I. Joe left, and it was Extreme. G.I. Joe Extreme.
This is what I just said, Extreme.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said something else. But that, when they put on the suits and were running around, and my head hurt.
Marlon Wayans. Which Wayans brother was in the second one?
I think it was Marlon. Yeah,
it was Marlon.
Wasn't it? I think it was Marlon.
And then
and he played Ripcord.
He played Ripcord.
Yep.
Weird choice. You could have had Stalker him or
yeah,
you know. But
if they were smart, they would get older actors to play the traditional Joes. I wouldn't. Carl Weathers could play Stalker as an older man, and you introduce newer, younger characters to come in, and that way you transition people away from the old and into the new, and you give them that natural progression. But you know that's not what they're going to do.
As long as I get Don Fry as Bazooka, I think I'd be okay.
Carl Weathers and as an old G.I. Joe would be awesome.
But anyway, so what else have we been watching?
Well, I watched Ant-Man finally.
Quantumania.
Yeah,
it was good.
It wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
I mean, it was a good popcorn flick.
I wonder how good it would have been if they hadn't shuffled some of the money away from that to for their other two disaster films.
Right.
Because you can definitely tell that one of the big complaints was some of the CGI work in that film, and
I mean,
having them moving that stuff, moving the money away from the touch-ups and finalization of everything in that film. Probably
not only that,
helped.
There was so much footage cut out of that film, and we're not going to get to see it. I mean, there's a good 28 minutes of oh my gosh, I hate growing old.
Stuff.
Bill Murray, because he got really dark in that, and his character was much darker, and all we get him is
just that
short clip
scene
of him, and I was like, wow, what happened to all the other scenes, you know? And it was all because the studio was afraid of what had happened with Bill Murray and claims on another film.
Right.
You know, he was hard to work with. Well, everybody who's ever known Bill Murray knows he's hard to work with, but man, he's a great actor, you know.
So my question is, now that they've done so much with Jonathan Majors and all the stuff that's happened with him, you know, good or bad, they're having to rethink things, and now they're having to reshuffle.
They're doing two paths because they have a lot of production already done because of him being the lead, the main villain. But they've set.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said, I mean, he's in the Loki trailer, for crying out loud. Like, he's right front and center. And
so what they're doing is they're hedging their bets. They've got the means to keep him as the main villain, but they're also trying to restructure to make somebody else become the main villain of everything. So it really depends on his trial. If the charges eventually get dropped, if the trial goes his way, like we saw with Johnny Depp, they're going to go full force with it because they've done so much work with him in it.
The thing is, who else besides Doctor Doom could they make a big bad on all this?
They're saving Doom. I think, well, I know that in one, Galactus is going to become a single villain, but he's not going to be the villain.
Right.
They're going to save him for the big
I'm thinking they're going to save him for Eternals.
Secret War. They're going to save him for the Secret Wars.
Okay.
So one of the focuses they might be deciding to go in is kind of as a deflection is into the magical side and the of them introducing Ghost Rider, introducing vampirism, introducing the Darkhold, which they used. And Mephisto is going to be in the
Echo.
And it's Echo and Agatha Harkness, a version of him.
Well, and then we got what Reeves coming in to bleed Johnny Blaze, right? Or Johnny Storm, I mean.
Maybe that's it's
Johnny
never
Storm,
it
Johnny
hasn't
Blaze.
been it hasn't been completely confirmed yet. So
Yeah. So right now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with those franchises, let alone whether anything's going to work. If Disney ends up having to sell its assets off to get itself out of trouble,
right,
Marvel's
the
the
other
only
thing.
one that still has value to it. Star Wars is shot to shit. You know, you can't do anything with Indiana Jones. You know, any of the stuff that was legacy of Lucasfilm,
Lucas, yeah.
that is not going to get you any money. So Marvel is their only good asset that they may either try to keep or sell.
Well, outside of
But
Pixar,
which one?
Pixar.
Well, yeah, and I don't think they're going to get rid of Pixar, but I do know that they're
No.
trying to introduce a new animation style that's going to come up
Right.
in some movies lately. I mean, in the future, and if that works for them, they could literally sell Pixar at that point because they'll have their own style of filmmaking.
Which
So
is that actually for me would be a good thing for Disney because they were one of the innovators for animated films, and for them to, I mean, for them to buy Pixar seemed always like an easy out. You know.
well, Pixar was, you got to admit, man, Pixar was cutting
Well,
edge
yeah.
at the time.
Well, yeah. Thing is,
You know,
Pixar was Pixar, and then Disney bought Pixar.
yeah, and
So
Pixar,
Pixar needs to be Pixar and let them innovate and let them become what
yes.
they're going to become.
Now
Disney
the
needs to
problem
go
is,
back to the drawing board, and if they are doing the new form of animation, fine, let that happen because Disney's always been an innovator as far as animated movies and stuff like that. And buying Pixar was an easy out to get them to the next stage.
yes.
They've got something ready to go down the road, then fine, let that happen.
Well,
If
the
they want
big problems
to
right
Pixar, fine.
the big problems right now though is that we're dealing with the writer strike and
The actor strike.
Actor strike.
And then on top of that, you have all the turmoil that's going on with inside Disney. So I mean,
Right.
we can't get them to make anything at the moment. They're just pushing out stuff that they already have in the midst of production,
Or done.
or done.
Well, they were approached by a foreign national who was a venture capitalist and an investment head to purchase some of Disney's assets. You know, and the real thing right now that's got Disney in trouble is they've had a few bad movies. So some of those movies actually made
A few.
enough money to be considered they broke even or did a little bit, better. Even what's the new one that everybody was downing? Elements. That's that's still in theaters. It's still creeping up and making money. So everybody wrote it off, but
Elemental.
it's that kind of dark horse, that thing that's in the background constantly, and it could end up, being a success for them.
Your positivity.
I don't know because I mean, it's one thing. It may be good, but the problem is you have Indiana Jones tanking. You have Little Mermaid. You have all the bad publicity for
And they already
Cinderella.
know that Snow White's just gonna be
Well,
bad.
Snow White.
You know?
Yeah, Snow
So
White. I'm like,
there is
Marvel
rumors
stuff
that they could
underperforming.
they've already said that it might not ever see the light of day because it'll be used as a write-off on taxes for Disney. But they've got all the problems in Florida, the lawsuits and everything with DeSantis.
Oh yeah,
They've
fighting
got
it. Yeah.
a lot of stuff on their plate, and then but what's really killing them is they have to come up with quite a bit of money after the first of the year
yeah, for
to buy out the
Hulu
last
thing.
half of their, and that's what they're saying. They can survive that, they might be able to keep going, and we'll see them, get better as of next quarter, next
All
year,
right.
first,
So-
second quarter next year. But if they can't do that, they're in trouble.
All right. So if Iger gets his wish and starts selling off stuff, what do we predict is going to be the first thing to go? Is it going to be the TV? Is it going to be Disney Plus? Or is it going to be one of the established franchises. With
They
that
have
being said, there's been talk of Lucasfilms going back to George Lucas.
Lucas has been trying, and Steven Spielberg has been kind of pushing him towards this. You know, if he can get a group of people, investors who would back him, I could see him taking it back and turning it into a good studio again, especially if it
Right.
becomes a Lucas and Spielberg and, you know, all their buddies
If he
Yes.
can
pitch
get
in.
if he can get Filoni and
Yeah, Filoni, I could see jumping in. I could.
I'm
see
not happy with
Filoni.
Filoni. Filoni showed his colors to me
I
when
know,
he jumped
I
in
know.
and sided with her.
Yeah,
with her
but
who
thing
shall
is-
not be named.
Thing is, yeah, yes, Kaiju Kennedy, yes. I see Filoni jumping ship and going with Lucas though, because the man wants to get his thing made, and he's got no loyalties to the except for the brand.
Yeah, he's proven he doesn't
So
have any
he's
loyalties
malleable.
except for himself and
Yeah.
his version of the brand.
Exactly.
Um,
So I see him jumping ship if a buyout was attempted. I see him backing that. Spielberg, of course, and then it would be
I don't see them letting go of
Filoni. I mean,
the
do which
Disney
I'm over.
Plus. They may get restructured. They've got too many shows in production. They have got to try. The problem with Disney is they don't have enough material to put on there.
Well, and then they
to
keep
keep
taking stuff
people
off
interested.
too. They keep
Yeah.
taking stuff off. They keep altering things to
right, and he
fit into
just
compliance or with whatever.
and
I
then
mean-
he keeps and then Iger keeps slamming the stuff that was before, like he was slamming all the pre-Disney Plus stuff like Marvel Agents of Shield and things like that.
They were good. All that stuff like ABC's,
Yeah, Netflix stuff.
Agents of Shield, all the Netflix stuff was far superior to some of the stuff we've seen
And he was
on
flagging it.
Disney Plus. Well, you know what's the problem is a lot of the problems, if you know about Iger's tenure, a lot of the problems they have were Iger caused.
Right.
Iger is the one who signed these contracts that allowed these people that they could come in and do anything they want. There was no safeguards, no watchdogs, nobody to make them, hey, look, you got to stick to continuity. You do whatever you want. That's why we got so many of these people. So then when Chapek came in, he was changing the guard. He was, all right, now there's accountability. You screw up, you're responsible for it, and we're going to fire you.
Exactly.
And those same people that Iger put in charge went back to Iger and said, hey, man, he's screwing up your legacy. And that was a trigger word for Iger because he thought he had left Disney with this great legacy. And what do they say? If you stick around long enough, you become the villain of your own
Yeah.
story. Well, that's
Yeah.
what Iger is.
Right.
Maybe it's time for new blood, somebody not with ties. You know,
Not
it'd be
Iger,
great.
not Kennedy, nothing. Just somebody entirely brand new.
They need to.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that you need to get people on board that want to see old Disney move into the the limelight. You don't want this whole
Right.
let's change things because we think this is what's going to make money, but evidently for the last 5 years, none of it's been making any money.
No. And in pop culture, you're only as good as your last success. So if Disney would pull off two big, things that actually turned it all around from really $2 billion movies, all of a sudden people would forget because that's what we do. We have short attention span and we don't pay attention till the next disaster.
But they need to get away from doing these live action films unless they're going to do some kind of new IP. And then get back to making animated films. They need to get back to their bread and butter that made them famous in the first place and start coming up with great stories. Because right now they're not doing it, and then they're killing themselves with Star Wars, Marvel.
Here's the problem. Disney started believing its own hype. Originally, Disney was for a place where both boys and girls could go and see their imagination come to life. There was a place for boys, there was a place for girls. Disney began seeing itself as a princess company and strictly for girls. And so we started seeing a lot of content geared towards that. And then with other things that happened in the industry, we started seeing them not just be more female focused, but they started degrading the male characters. And so you drove your male audience right out. They weren't going to go see this. And I'm sorry, the minute you try to you pigeonhole yourself to one audience, you're gonna lose your footing. Make good movies that have great characters all the way around, and quit putting politics and what's the body identity, whatever the term is. Get it out of there. Concentrate on the story. The story is what should be driving everything.
I mean, and especially with kids movies, right? It's like with any of these types of movies, like nobody cares about that. Like as a little kid, you're not really giving a shit about stuff like that. You want to go see adventure. You want that's what's so frustrating about some of this stuff is that like I don't know if they're just scared to go towards aspirational stuff anymore, or what the trouble is. But it's like everything is so toned down, right? Like that's was it Strange World or whatever, where it just like the main character of that show was supposed to be this amazing person at just natural adventurer type, and you just never really see that. They handhold you through the whole thing, and it's like, no, I like don't sit there and tell me this. Like show me and
Show me. Yeah.
show me them doing something cool or great or interesting, not just they're really good at making friends. I mean, that's fine and all. Like, okay, great. You're really good at making friends, but like do something impressive on top of that. Like do something amazing. That's why you go to a movie. You want to see amazing things.
Give us some flawed characters. Give us some characters with something that they have to outgrow or go beyond in their story. There have to be a growth in the story arc. They cannot be the same person they were at the beginning of the film, at the end of the film, that they are at the beginning of the film, because you've done nothing. You've accomplished nothing.
Yeah, we need more than just escapism.
And just like Barbie, right? Barbie was and still is, it's really geared for little girls. They degrade men in it to the point to where that it's almost like a revenge picture towards the end, and they kind of rewrite the history of origin of Barbie, where it came from, who created it. And I was like, yeah, it's making a lot of money because there are a lot of women who hate men, but it's not the little girls who are seeing it. It's the grown-up women who are going to see it.
Yeah, the original Barbie fans.
And so
Barbie fans.
There's a key, that movie would have been just as fine without the politics. And if they had made Ken little more than a mannequin who was like, when Barbie got out in the real world, she was there because she realized her ideal vision of what the world was like was not true. Ken got out there and he was like, these guys, they can talk. They can they can buy something. So then he goes back to Barbie Land and he's like, hey guys, we don't have to be subjugated. We're not just there for them to look at. We have minds. And I was like, okay, there's your political statement right there. There could have been growth for both of them. And instead at one point they say, God, man, don't let them start talking to each other. They start talking together. That's the end. Then, they'll start building walls. And at the end, they're talking, and the Barbies are like building walls. The Kens are building walls because they're now they're going to separate. It's like, okay.
So they went for the Pleasantville type story, right?
No, Pleasantville was fantastic.
I
Barbie
know, but
was great visually, and I understand Robbie's character and what she was trying to accomplish, but not at the sake of diminishing boys and men. And that's why it was just another film that demonizes men.
The crazy thing about it is, like, I haven't seen it. I don't plan to getting around to seeing it. But like I heard somebody, I was listening to people describe various parts of it, And then I asked the question. I've heard other people ask the question since, but it's like Barbie is the Barbies are the only ones that have homes, and no one knows where Ken sleeps at night. So what's weird is that the movie, from everything I've heard, has a kind of awesome setup for a horror movie of just this like weird dystopian thing where like all the Ken, like, you know, all the lights go out and then just like the Kens fill the streets, right? And they're all standing there in the middle.
They're the ones who live under the stairs.
Yeah, they look at
Oh,
the,
now you hear the siren go off at midnight or nightfall.
Yeah.
And all the
So
Kens
come out.
themselves in their homes because they can't be out at night because that's when the Kens go wild.
I think a Ken Purge would be a great movie.
A Ken Purge.
I,
All of them are
I'm
dressed
sorry.
up with like masks
You know,
and weapons.
Yeah,
we
I
want
mean,
what you have.
yeah, you know, it's just trying to. Everybody's talking about creating a level playing field, and from what I'm hearing about the Barbie movie, it's not a level playing field.
No, it's not. It's very much not.
I mean,
And
honestly,
Like all the stuff that I've heard it described,
know.
it's like they're doing a very heavy-handed attempt at, you know, trying to show, well, this is what the real world is like, but in order to get it through to people, they're gonna reverse the roles in Barbie Land to make a point, is what it seemed like the idea is.
which is fine
Like-
because I'm all for equality, but if you're not going to have actual equality, and you have to do all these things to, if they feel like they have to do all these things to get that equality, then all they're doing is being the bully.
they're flipping the roles and they're going to the extreme.
Right.
It's like the
I mean, they're
pendulum swinging from
it's
one
like the
side to
40s
the
and
other.
50s all over again. For
The diversity is not diversity if it's forced. It
right.
has to come naturally. You know, and then
Absolutely.
even in the movie, they, you know, God's a woman, you know, and I'm not saying God isn't a woman. I think it'd be great if God
God
was
is
a
just
woman.
God. You know,
Sure would explain a lot.
I
fair.
thought God was Alanis Morissette, or is that just
Uh,
90s?
Now
No,
that
that's
actually works.
yeah, I could see that. You know,
That
that
actually works.
that Atlantis, I could see that.
All right, so
Um,
let's slightly change the topic a little bit. What did we think of the whole Barbieheimer thing? You know, the whole week where Oppenheimer and Barbie were out at the same time, and there were all the
I'm
memes.
kind of
and-
curious how much those two are feeding off of each other, right? Because like me and my brother were talking about it, and like the holdover between Oppenheimer and Barbie, like the Monday Tuesday numbers after that initial weekend were pretty strong for both of them,
For
and
both
they've
of them.
been holding pretty strong. It's weird. It's like you almost wonder.
People
are
feeding
they-
into the
are they
hype.
kind of feeding off of each other in a weird
Yeah.
way. Like they're the
Right.
most diametrically opposed movies you could possibly think of. You know, you have the weird bubblegum nonsense of Barbie next to the 3-hour historical,
Almost accurate.
you know,
Well,
movie.
with the time jumping stuff in it and
Okay,
kind of different perspective of Oppenheimer, I was like, okay, I was hoping for a more linear story instead of flashbacks and stuff. And I loved the style. But one is supposed to be a historical event. And again, you could say the same thing about Barbie. Barbie is just another representation of a historical period in America. You know, so they're both historical.
Fair.
I mean, one's got a little bit more historicity than the other.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have played up more than just one scene with Matt Damon
But
talking about oh, if you could blow up the thing, what is the percentage of it not being it's going to ignite the world? Oh, you know, it's you know, it's small, you know. That whole little conversation was like drove me nuts. If you were a scientist, you would be racked, I would hope. Do we do this? Yeah, I wanted to see that argument. I wanted to see that argument. When you
Right.
see those discussions. It doesn't happen. I was like,
Because you
no,
know
well,
that
you know,
those
flip the coin.
right, because you
we
know
go
those
with it.
arguments actually happen.
It's fun.
I mean, based upon all the little ledgers and everything that's ever happened since that time, we know for a fact that there was weeks of discussion of what the results of this were going to be. And they, from what I understand, they boiled it down to minutes,
No,
which
it's
was
just
not.
minutes.
And it was, that's kind of disappointing. I mean, I can understand as far as like trying to keep it for flow of time, but they could have found a way to say, okay, they really, really wrestled with this.
Right. I would have preferred it to be that kind of a movie about the morality
more
of what was
drama.
going on. And because we've already had other stories about Oppenheimer and the bomb and everything else, it's kind of been played to death. What would have been great was to focus in on that decision, that moment when they decided to do it, and then how their lives were affected afterwards. I mean, they do show Oppenheimer later, but I wanted to see more of the history. I don't want to see a stylized history. I don't want to see the other. Let's just put it out there and let people deal with it personally and run it through their mind. Don't. It's got to be a movie still. I understand that, but don't take away from
people
the
that
events.
have to pick up a book. Because we're in a society now where audio and video dictate the day. The days of being able to sit down with a book where you can take the time to explain things is almost gone. Instant gratification is the meal of the day. And if you can't
You're all hungry.
If you can't get it digestible in an hour 30, as opposed to taking 8 hours to read a book, which really explains it to you, that is the problem. People want that now. They want that moment. They want it. It's okay. This movie said this. This movie said this, or this said this, or this did this, as opposed to being able to look at historical. People who spend 2 years working on a book will give you something that's properly in depth, and then you get Oppenheimer, which is a good movie, a great movie, but they dumb it down for that quick ingestion.
I don't know if they dumb it down. He just tried to make it kind of that entertainment that people would sit through.
Unfortunately, entertainment factor.
You have to.
You look at what Cameron did with Titanic, right? He took a movie that we all know what happens at the end, and he gave you characters that you gave a crap about. And you wanted to, and I know David doesn't like this. Just go get on the raft, David. Just go get on the raft.
Should have stayed on the first stupid boat that she got on.
Should have stayed on the mattress. They did a research not too long ago where the mattresses floated. Get on the damn mattress. Just don't move. You get on it, you stay. It becomes buoyant. But no, she didn't want him to survive. I'm sorry. She probably kicked him off.
Well, it was a door that they were on, not a mattress.
Rose was a real character.
No, I'm just saying there were tons of stuff on board the ship that you could have made.
That floated. Yes, I know.
That floated.
But
look,
I just love
the fact that in my head canon, Billy Zane blows his brains out in the Titanic, and then he winds up as the demon in Demon Knight, right? In my mind, that's the continuation of that movie, and I'm fine with it at that point because Billy Zane wins at that in that world, and I'm good.
Now there was a lieutenant or something on the ship that they kind of meshed characters with, and I think Billy Zane's character ended up being part of that meshed character. They had the character in the movie blow his brains out, but in reality, this guy went down with the ship and helped get people onto lifeboats, sacrificing himself. It was completely fictitious.
Are you talking about Lightoller? Because Lightoller lived. There was one of them who did shoot himself,
right?
But it wasn't Billy Zane's character.
Thing is, that guy actually went down with the ship and got people on lifeboats and didn't shoot himself. And because of his portrayal in Titanic, there was this guy in the Midwest who freaked out over that and started killing people because of the way his story panned out in Titanic. I'll go back.
Well,
And
there were
get
a
the-
lot of people saving people. There was one story that's in it that has been repeated over and over again in the letters and during the trial, and it was of an engineer. Right, this one engineer survives fighting the fire that was happening in the boiler room. He survives when the bulkheads come down. He literally climbs up through one of the smokestacks, climbs out after rescuing other people. He's swinging down, climbing down, sees one of the boats where one of the cords, the ropes, has got it twisted and at an angle, and it's slapping against the side of the boat, and everybody's holding on for dear life and going to die. He makes his way to that rigging, pulls a knife out, cuts it down, allowing the boat to drop in, and then falls in, and the people reach over, grab him, and pull him in. I want to see that story.
there's a story of some lady put her baby in the trash can and hopped on a boat.
Why? Because the babies would have got you on the boat faster.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Apparently,
you
it's
know?
one of the stories that's it recently showed up. You're like,
I would.
where the hell's that?
There were
You want-
men who went and dressed as women
Women,
and were
yes,
getting on
that I
boats and
heard.
were being drug off.
Supposedly,
they
my
were
great
realized.
grandmother was a baby at the time of Titanic. On the Titanic.
You know,
I confirm
speaking of boat movies and tragedies and all that, I don't know that I'm gonna get around to seeing Oppenheimer, but I'm kind of curious about the last voyage of the Demeter, just because vampires.
Yes.
You know what?
But
If you make the Titanic and you put vampires on that boat, I might actually go back and rewatch it. I don't know, but I mean,
okay, but
You know what? That's
Demeter,
fair.
the Demeter ends just like the Titanic does.
good.
Boy, so this is the premise of the movie: vampires get on a boat that they
No,
they're gonna they eat everyone and then they sink the boat to like kill the evidence.
30 days at night at sea.
Yeah, I want to see this. Let's write this.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
what the
that.
Demeter is what Dracula, right? It's specifically
Yeah, it's
Dracula.
the first.
it's
It's
the
the
ship.
first 2 chapters or 3 chapters of Dracula.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's scenes that when the boat lands and they pull it to shore once it comes in as a deserted ship, and the people who go on to figure it out, there's a scene where there's a hand still hanging on, tied to the wheel, and that's it, just a hand. I want to see how that happened, because everybody else is gone except for the logs, and the captain is the last person to put something in the logs. We know from the book he'll be the last person who fights Dracula. But I want to know the guy who was like, I'll save us, and wraps himself to the wheel and then becomes Dracula's lunch.
That would be cool. See, they're
He puts
the stuff
garlic
that they're
all
offering
over
is the wrong
himself.
perspective.
Finds
Well,
out
what
that
if the hand
Dracula
was
actually
just
likes garlic.
vampiric, and we know Dracula has control over the lesser versions that he creates, so he could have.
Oh,
just
they're
been
gonna do
living
so-
the hand.
They're going to do something dumb. They're going to put it's going to have a ring or a cross on it. Something that made it where Dracula ate all of the rest of him, but left the hand on there.
Well, see what happened was he was just eating a single clove of garlic with that one hand, right?
With that
Yes.
one hand.
That was just the thing that he did, and that's all. He was biting into garlic, and he got it all over his hand, and that's why Dracula left it alone.
Somewhere.
All right, so now Demeter is supposed to be the prequel to Nosferatu, right?
Well, it's the
Or
okay
and
after
Renfield is
Dracula
supposed to be-
flees.
It's the time hit from him leaving
Parker in Transylvania,
yes, in Transylvania, and
him going to
England.
England to get the Carfax Abbey, which he purchased through Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, and Renfield is supposed to be
Renfield's
somewhere-
not on board at all
Oh.
at this point.
Okay, no, that's what I'm saying. Renfield, the movie with Nick Cage, is supposed to be a prequel to Dracula.
It's supposed to be a
Yeah.
sequel to
No, it's a sequel.
not a prequel. It's a sequel to the original Dracula with Bela
Okay.
Lugosi.
All right,
Yes.
that's what I was getting confused because I knew that there was a bunch of stuff that was supposed to be tied together, and supposedly one of them was tied to Nosferatu, and the rest were supposed to be directly connected to Bela Lugosi's Dracula, which is
Yeah, that
what
was
Nick Cage
Renfield.
is supposed to be.
Which is
Yeah, but
actually
this is-
Renfield's actually a fun movie. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
that's what I heard. That it was really
it's
good.
batshit crazy, but it's a lot of fun.
But yeah, the whole thing that Nosferatu kind of was. I can't say it stole from Dracula because I don't remember which one was written
No,
first.
no, it was their version of Dracula because they couldn't get the rights from the broker, the Hans.
The Stokers. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. They couldn't get the rights from the estate, so they had to come up with their own version. That's what I remember.
Yeah, what I love is the John Malkovich one, which talks about the making of
Yes.
it and how that guy, when they found him, they thought he was like there's something wrong with this dude. He could
Yeah,
be
I have
literally
that
a
movie on
vampire.
VHS because Eddie Izzard's in it.
So I guess we'll wrap this up. I did want to talk about Justified City Primeval.
Oh yes.
First
Oh,
two
and I wanted to
episodes.
talk about the Batman '89 since you had me read it.
Oh, did you already read it?
So
Well, we're
I
gonna do
read
a
it.
whole
Oh yeah, I
episode on
read
it.
through it like
I didn't
that.
read it
Man,
yet.
that was so
So
good.
we're gonna do that. We'll do that one on episode 8.
What?
Let's
What is
let's do that one in Gregory real
Yeah,
quick.
we'll do
Let's
both of
just
them.
do it
Both of those.
Hold on,
It's the direct-
Batman? I'm completely out of the loop on this Batman.
Okay, it's the direct sequel to the second Tim Burton Batman movie.
Batman Returns.
Batman
And
yeah.
it is
Returns.
what would have
Batman
been.
The third movie.
It would have
had
been
Burton.
what they had written in the script for the third movie.
and it's
Batman
so-
'89. I will repost the link because I have that shared in my cloud site, David.
Yeah, and David too. If you want, it's on
or is
sale at Target.
and it's a comic. That's what you're
Yes,
talking
it's
about.
a
Yes,
comic.
it,
Yeah.
yes, it was a graphic novel release.
So it's written by the same guy who did the screenplay for
Okay.
The original Batman.
original Batman and Batman Returns. And this is his treatment that he would have done for the third movie.
Yeah,
Had
it ties
Burton.
up all the loose ends.
This?
That's
That
it. Yeah.
that's one
No,
of the.
that's
copies
not
now.
it.
That's
That's,
one- that's
part. That's
Oh wait, no wait, that's the first one, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the
it's
Batman.
Batman
it's literally
89.
I'll go
Batman
get it.
'89.
It seems like it's got a couple different covers to it, but
There were a couple covers, but it's Batman -89, the little hyphen thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the most popular cover. Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
that's the one.
Okay.
I should get
That's
a
the
hard
back
copy
of
of it. just
It's
to have.
seven. It's like 1750 right now on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Yeah, and it's 30% off at Target, which is 17, makes it 17.
17.
'cause
Yeah.
The
As soon as I
cover
got
price
the extra-
is
I'm doing everything. digital.
$24.99. The regular price is $24.99.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
um,
Justified.
yeah,
with all-
Justified. So yeah, that first episode is pretty damn good. Especially having Keith David show up and out of nowhere, I was like, holy crap, this made this episode just even much more better. But it seems like it takes place like 16 years or so after the last of Justified, because it's his
I thought they
his
said it was like
babies.
10.
no, she's like 16, his daughter.
Well,
Or
they've
the-
talked before that because they're using Timothy Oliphant's actual daughter for
Yes.
his daughter. And I
Yeah,
remember reading somewhere that the age of Oliphant's daughter doesn't necessarily sync up with what should technically be the age of the daughter at the time. So it could be that she
She's
is technically
13.
16 years older, but story-wise, she should be a little bit younger. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
But yeah, he ends up going to take her to a they basically start. It's hilarious. He's taking his daughter to like a camp and stuff, and then two guys tried to rob him and steal his car, and then it's him taking those guys to Florida to drop them off. Oh no, to Detroit to drop them off to the courts, and then just shenanigans ensues. But it's good.
But what's great about that setup is when you initially watch the episode, right? You think that he's dealing with a criminal, and it takes you a minute before you realize, oh no, it's his daughter that he's dealing with.
Yes,
don't know
yes,
how-
yes.
I don't know how I feel about his daughter. I've watched the first two episodes.
Mhm.
No, 3. I've watched the first 3 episodes, and his daughter is a little grating on my nerves. But it's teenage girls, so I guess they're supposed to be a little grating. But no, I mean it's great. I love Oliphant being back as Raylan. It's always good to have a little Raylan in your life. And then we were talking before we started recording that the new villain for this season's pretty interesting.
Pretty
and
interesting, yeah.
that actor's been all over the place, right? I loved him as the Corinthian and the Sandman. He just seems like he's a good, solid bad guy, right? And so I'm really curious to see how his character grows and what kind of real threats he starts posing to Raylan, because it doesn't take long for him to get right up in Raylan's
Ramped
business.
up to like into craziness. And it's like, when we dealt with Boyd in the original series, he blows up the church right away, and then he kills the guy he did the job with, and then
well, that's because he
but
thought he was a knock.
there's no sympathetic bone in this new guy's body at all. He's nuts. Perfect like antagonist for Raylan.
Who has no sympathetic bone in his body?
Well, other than his daughter. I mean, when you mess with a U.S. Marshal who doesn't give a shit about anything, things are going to get crazy. But it's good. The first 2 episodes are really good. I think the third.
I haven't seen the second one.
Just aired.
Yeah, it comes out every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Okay.
So
what network is that on?
It's on Hulu, but
FX and Hulu.
Was it on Hulu? On Netflix? I thought it was solely on
I don't
Hulu.
think it's on Netflix. I think it's on Hulu as streaming.
FX I meant FX and
FX. Yeah, I was like,
and then it streams the next day on Hulu.
And I got I picked up the season on my Vudu account, so I'll just Dad, you can just watch them there.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, no, it's good. I'm kind of sad that this is only going to be 1 season show unless they get enough good reviews on it. And
well, I heard that they were thinking about doing a lot of standalone stuff for him, like different times in his life and different stories. So it won't be one connected long series. It'll be like a bunch of little vinaigrettes about him and other characters within that universe. So
I love vinaigrette on my salad.
Yeah, I do too. With a little bit of croutons.
Now
keeps the Boyd cleaned out.
Boyd cleaned out.
You don't want them vignettes on your salad, though.
So I only watched the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay, because I got Paramount Plus, and I was like, oh my God, just a lot of stuff. So I've been trying to get caught up on stuff that I only watched maybe the first season of, or the half of the second season, and lost for some reason or another. They got moved from channels. So I got to give a shout out for Star Trek. Strange New Worlds. Because it is the only Star Trek I've watched other than the Orville, which wasn't Star Trek, that made me feel like I was watching a Star Trek property. I like the Picard, but it's kind of like watching a train wreck and you're just wanting to see where all these old characters end up. Discovery started out good, kind of petered out, at some point. There's rumors that there's going to be a Deep Space Nine final season to kind of finish all the plot holes they left hanging there when it was canceled. And they just canceled Lower Decks, so we're not going to see them. So they got their goodbye in this season of Strange New Worlds, where they went back in time and they went from their cartoon universe to the reality universe. That was just a great episode, man. I was dying. I loved it. I was like, man, this is why I watch Star Trek. And then I'm just trying to get caught up on other series, Then I'll sit down and I'll watch Justified and some of the other ones. Just so much. And they did this massive dump on Netflix not too long ago. So there's all kinds of movies in my queue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we want to talk about stuff that we might have missed the first time around and haven't gotten around to, everyone always talks about all the various, anime movies and stuff, and a lot of them not having watched them back when they came out, instead of watching them later, feel like they're a little further up their own ass than most people, I guess, remember them for. But on this past season of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob, they showed Perfect Blue, which I had never seen before, and that
The
like
anime.
of all the anime movies that people
Dude.
have told me to watch that I come away from, that is the very first one that I've always heard about. I've never sat down and watched, and finally sitting down and watching it, holy crap, that movie's good. Like just
Yes.
as a movie itself, it is the first movie I can think of in a really really long time where I got so suckered into the moment that when I realized what was going on, it actually kind of blew me away because of the fact that, you know, you have three layers of reality going on in the movie. You have reality, you have the psychosis side of reality of the main character, and then you have the TV series that she's playing in. And there's a moment where she's talking to someone, and I'm thinking I'm in, you know, reality A, and about halfway through the conversation, some stuff happens, and I realize, oh no, this is reality, you know, B or whatever. And as I was so pulled in to trying to figure out, man, where did this character come from? You know, I wonder, you know, how this came about, where they're going to go from. And then when I came to that realization, I just said, oh wow, that hasn't happened in a really long time. That was awesome.
That's one of
So
dude. It's one of my favorites. I remember renting that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had Dad watch it, I had Ember watch it. But I as soon as I was like coming out on Blu-ray, I had to get it. It's so
It
good.
always reminded me of a David Lynch film, kind of,
So
where
it's called
that
Blue
that
Avenue.
reality bending.
Perfect Blue, Colin.
Perfect Blue.
That's what it's called.
It's about a pop idol that ends up getting into the film industry and her dealing with the demands of being a TV star with the pop idol, with dealing with her fans that are either upset that she left, and then other craziness that starts manipulating her thought process and her reality.
All right, somebody link me that because all of you have seen it and I haven't seen it, and it sounds great.
It's so good. And what sucks is that specific director.
It's on. God,
Somebody
I'm trying
link
to
me
remember
something. That's all.
which one. I'll look it up because I think it's on one of the streaming services you might have.
Might be.
But what sucks is that that specific director had died of like cancer or something a handful of years back. But he made a bunch of movies that have influenced, like Darren Aronofsky, if I remember right, bought the rights to like the distribution for Perfect Blue for a while or something on. He bought something about it because he wanted to utilize. He basically wanted to straight rip stuff out of that movie for like Black Swan, and a bunch of his early movies apparently are direct references and straight up just scene steals from these anime. And then I remembered I didn't realize it was the same guy, but at the same time that Inception came out, everyone was commenting about how Inception should have had more fantastical elements whenever they were in the
dream world,
the brain world, whatever. Which, if you really think that, you're completely missing the point of that movie. That if everything went all crazy and fantastical, then it wouldn't seed everything the way it is. But around that time, the anime Paprika came out, which was by the same guy, which deals with sort of similar themes as Inception, with all the mind reality warping stuff. And I've always heard that
Paprika, but I can't remember what it is.
So
It's the one with the colorful cover.
Paprika,
With
and he also did Tokyo Godfathers, which I have no idea
Yeah,
about.
he did.
but-
Yeah, I think he did that one too. So that's so weird because like they even state in Inception that the more weirder things are, it affects the NPCs in the brain of the person that they're in. So it's like you can't have those things that are so fantastical because it would instantly trigger a part in their brain that goes, "Hey, you need to wake up because something's not right."
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Perfect Blue is great. Man, I highly recommend that.
yeah, because the person in the dream is not the person that you're in their dream, but the person who's in that other person's dream is like having a lucid dream themselves. But the primary target cannot. They have to believe they're in the real world through the dream.
Oh, you know another thing
Like
we need to watch.
Neo and the Black Cat. Whenever you see that, there, there's a
deja
glitch in the
vu. There's
Matrix.
something changed in the Matrix. Another one we need to watch, and I might just purchase it digitally so we can all just check it out, is I'd love to talk about Shin Ultraman as well.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it. I know
I would
it's
love to
it's
see that.
available on one of the streaming. I
Yeah.
think it's Paramount. I have to look. I think it is.
Well, I don't have Paramount, so I would love to see that.
Yeah. And then I know Kikamon Rider, the Shin for that is supposed to be coming out at some
Yes.
point. So
Is that Kikkoman Rider or Common Rider?
Common, right? I don't remember.
I
It's
thought it was Kamen
Kikkoman.
Rider.
Yeah. But I know that of course we haven't even talked about Godzilla, so that'll be the new
Oh,
look
and the new
for him
Gamera movie.
and a new Gamera movie too. Yeah. But
Well, those will be coming out by the time some of this stuff comes up.
so yeah,
We've
we'll,
got
a lot of stuff ahead of them.
well, Gamera is a series, right?
Yes, Gamera's supposed to
Limited.
be
Gamera's going to be an
Three-part
animated series.
animated series on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Well, anything left, guys, before we end this real quick?
Nah, I think we covered a lot of ground. I think
Okay.
It was good.
All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode of That Little Podcast. We will be back next week sometime. I haven't figured out the day because we got to make sure that we're all available for the live episode. We will be talking about the Batman 89 comic, which kind of continues the story from Batman Returns, the Tim Burton verse, as well as Gregory, which is the comic that Colin recommended to us. And then we'll probably talk about all these other things we just talked about at the end more in depth. So we hope you guys are ready for this. It'll be fun like it always is. In the meantime, everyone have a great week and we will catch you later.
Deuces.